would say I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, but we're actually across the world from each other. But she can hear me. How you doing, babe?
I can hear you like you're right here next to me, but we are literally across the world from each other. This is crazy. This is
You're
not
all the
supposed to
way in the
happen.
Bahamas. I'm all the way in Alaska. How crazy is that?
If I keep going this way, I'll just wrap around and see you on the other side of the earth or something.
That is so true. That's so crazy. Yeah, well, I think I got to look up on MapQuest and see how many miles the Bahamas are from Alaska. I'm sure it's in the
It's pretty
thousands.
far apart.
Yeah. So
Don't
you,
you wish you were here though?
you know what? I wish I was there, but I wish you were here. So
Why?
and I could
In
use
the
I could use
cold
that warm
Alaska?
I could use that warm sexy blubber. And I don't mean blubber in a bad way. You got that nice little extra meat on your bones. Anyway, let me stop flirting with you in public, and we got to talk about the issue that is the issue that everybody's talking about right now. Everybody, first of all, give us a yes if you can hear us. Also, give us a double yes if you saw the slap. Give us a yes if you saw the slap. Man, you sent that to me. I didn't think it was real.
It doesn't matter if it's real. What matters is that it happened and we all saw
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you.
it.
I want to ask everybody: give us a yes or no. Do you think it was real or do you think it was fake? Will Smith, Chris Rock, that whole slap. I I think it was real. I felt like it was real.
Yeah.
Will Smith and Chris Rock. That's kind of my demographic. I'm about the same age as both of those guys. I've never met Will. I've never met Chris, but I'm like 1 degree of separation from Will and Chris.
Oh, their brothers really like you. Like Will Smith's brother,
Yeah, yeah.
he
That's what
likes
happens
you.
when you.
And
That's what happens when you like me. I'm like a D-list celebrity. Not a real mainstream celebrity, but like people's brothers. So Chris Rock's brother used to call me all the time, and I never knew why he wanted to talk. He would just
that
he,
is
we were shooting that
crazy.
movie in Brooklyn, and his brother came to the set, and his brother was just calling me all the time. And then Will Smith's brother Harry, I talked to him for hours and hours and hours. He looks just like Will and like a stunt double. He looks just like him, and he's super smart. And I have a lot of respect for Will's family, because they're very smart people. But I was kind of surprised by all this gangster shit going on down at the Oscars. What were you thinking when you saw this, babe?
Okay, first of all, I haven't seen the Oscars in years. I just happened to see it because we didn't have anything else to do and we couldn't get Hulu to work because Hulu doesn't work in Bahamas. So we just ended up. Oh, and then we wanted to see Encanto win. So we were all about it. And then little Tay Tay wants to be an actress. So, or she is an actress actually. So we were watching it, and she said her acting coach is there. Her acting coach was there and going to the parties or whatever. So that's why we were tuning in, and really we got a little bored with it, and so after Encanto won, we just muted the screen and we were doing other stuff. And so Tay Tay was like, I wonder why they just did this stunt on TV. And I said, what? It was like, well, that guy just slapped him on the stage. And of course I thought it was fake. And then we turned the sound on, and then that's when I text you, and then Will Smith wins Best Actor for King Richard, and I saw his acceptance speech, and that's when it dawned on me that it seems like that was actual. It seemed like it wasn't staged. It seemed like it was a real event.
Yeah, I thought it was real.
Hmm.
I I don't know. I feel like I have special, black. I don't know, because I'm the same age as those guys. I trust my instincts, and my instincts are telling me that it was real. And Chris Rock, you could tell he was just kind of like, "Whoa, what just happened?" And Lupita Nyong'o, did you see her face?
Oh yeah, yeah, we saw it. I saw it over and over again. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
Lupita,
was like, "What?"
and Will made it real clear
Yep.
that, you see, I thought it was staged until he kept saying, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." Like he kept saying that over and over,
Oh,
and
and
he
said
said
it
it out.
articulately.
Yeah, he enunciated every syllable of that sentence, and I saw the opinions, right? I did a quick poll on Dr. Boy's TV. I like to see what intelligent Black people are thinking, because Chris and Will are both intelligent guys, very intelligent men. And I said, whose fault do you think this was, Will or Chris? And I was very surprised. The majority said that they felt it was Will's fault. 66% of you said that you felt it was Will who was in the wrong. 33% of you said that you felt Chris was in the wrong, maybe because of the jokes you made about Jada, and her hair and stuff like that. What do you think about that, Beck?
Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of Chris Rock. It's not like his material, I feel, warrants a slap in the face. Like like I find some of his material, he just makes fun of Black women. He did this movie about Black women's hair, and it was supposed to have been like, I went into it thinking that it was going to be a little more empowering than it was, because he talked about his daughters, and um I felt that he kind of borderlines mocking and making fun of Black women, just in that documentary that he did, in a lot of his jokes.
Mm,
So I'm not a real fan of him. So it was time for him to get him to get put in his place. And and for him to talk bad about, in front of a whole audience of white people, for him to sit there and talk awful of all the jokes to tell. Why are you going to talk about this Black man, this nice Black couple?
interesting, interesting. Well, what a lot of people don't know, I mean, is that there are lots of pictures when you look up Will Smith and Chris Rock, and you get past what happened tonight. There are lots of pictures of them as friends. You know, uh, Will and Jada and all of them.
Hmm.
So it's really sad. I didn't feel good about what I saw. I felt, I get it, defend your wife's honor and all that, but I remember stuff like this, when they were cool, and it looked like they were actually on the Fresh Prince together at one point. Chris
That
was,
doesn't mean they like each other.
you
It
know,
could be we work together and it's a business relationship, and it's just like, okay, take the picture and I'm out of here.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, that is an interesting point you make. So, I think somebody made a comment where they said that if Chris was talking about Nicole Kidman and she has short hair, he wouldn't have made a joke like that about a Nicole Kidman.
Hmm. Yeah, Black women in their hair. Isn't that something that he made a joke about Black women and a Black woman's hair, and he did a whole documentary on Black women's hair, talking bad about Black women. As far as that was my interpretation. Isn't that interesting?
Mm,
That
yeah,
connection
yeah, it
there.
is interesting.
Mhm.
Now Harper C says alopecia is a condition that isn't funny and is sensitive.
Mhm.
So Jada had to cut her hair off because of alopecia. Um, so what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think that because it was sensitive and it had to do with her health, that's what I thought about? I said, maybe there's a reason her hair is short, and then I did read the part about alopecia, and maybe that caused,
Yeah.
you know. So okay, so let's assume.
Hair is very important to Black women. Hair is extremely important, and it's kind of something you don't play around with when it comes to us in hair. You live in a house with women, you know that.
Yeah,
Hair is important to us.
what's interesting? Jay Alex makes a good point, and I can hear what he's saying as well. That these guys are 50. They're 50 years old, and I get it. If they were two rappers, you know, it would make sense to me, right? But I don't know. I don't think you saw after Will kind of went off, Denzel Washington was kind of over there talking to him. I actually had a friend
Hmm.
who was at the Oscars who was telling me what was going on. He said Denzel and Tyler Perry were over there talking to Will and trying to calm him down. And you know, the thing is, if that had happened with Denzel, do you think Denzel would get up and go smack somebody on stage for talking about his?
Um, I got the impression that because if you think about Will and Jada and being in the news for the past couple of years, I think they've kind of been trashed in the news by a lot of people. Like, so I think he has been, especially Will Smith, with the whole incident with Jada and her entanglement. I think that they people have been saying some really terrible things about them, and so maybe this is just a build up. It was just like, I can't take it anymore. This is my night where I'm up for Academy Award and you're going to try to denigrate my family. And he basically said that in essence in his acceptance speech. Bravo to him for that great role as
Yeah,
is
King
with
Richard.
King Richard. Hello,
And
you're
you know
supposed to
what?
be
And
paying
I was real.
attention to that.
I was really happy that Will got an an Oscar for King Richard. That
Oh,
really,
he earned it.
yeah, that really, I think that speaks to our country having come a long way, because 20 years ago he wouldn't have got an Oscar for that role.
Hmm.
And I think it took a
Oh,
lot of
20
courage.
years ago, that movie wouldn't have been made like that.
Right, right. Will, from what I understand, his company made that movie. They did a great job of representing the important role of the father.
Hmm.
And I think that I got a sense from Will's acceptance speech that he's kind of accepted this role of being a protector of family. Like you seem to feel that
Hmm.
the role kind of transformed him a little bit, and that
Hmm.
that's what kind of brought out that unapologetic, whatever the hell you saw, that gangster Will that we saw on stage. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and not only that, but I'm almost certain in making the film, he got to know the Williams family very well. So it wasn't like I don't know them, I'm just going to play this role. No, he was intricately involved in the production of this film, and I'm certain he got mentored by this man who was such a visionary. I think we did a pillow talk on that movie. We were so moved by it, So I think, yeah, I think he's changed his whole perspective and everything. We don't know who he's been talking to and who's been in his ear, but he seems to have really been transformed by this role.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. If it was staged, they did a damn good job because the police were there and everything. You know,
Oh,
they
I wondered if Will was gonna. Now, see, that's the problem with violence. You start fighting somebody, it's illegal to hit someone, so you could go to jail for that. So that's what happens. So I
yeah.
mean, Chris Rock. I don't know if Chris Rock will press charges. He's well within his right to do that. I mean, that was Chris
You know,
Rock. No matter what someone says, you don't deserve to be slapped.
yeah, I don't think Chris would, right? I think Chris, now maybe a lawsuit or something, with a big settlement, I could see that. But I would say, if you're talking about Chris's reaction, I think Chris had a greater awareness of the gravity of the situation right in the moment. Chris is very good at, being impromptu, or what do they call it when comedians can just do things off the top of their head. What
Oh,
do they call
improv. Is it
it? Improv.
improv?
Yeah, yeah. He's great at
Mm-hmm.
improv, right? So you saw his improv skill
It
come out
wasn't
of
that
work,
great.
right?
I think he was a little stunned. Like
Yeah,
after
he
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 got slapped,
was.
it was awkward.
Right, right, right. But I've seen Chris really. He's such a professional, right? He's such a good comedian, and I've seen him in
Really?
awkward situations, just able to really still stay in the moment. So, and understand the significance of the moment. So when he got slapped, I think he said something like, "Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me." He was stunned, but he said it like he let people know out loud. Like he didn't like whimper off and walk away or punch him back. He said Will Smith slapped the shit out of me. So he knew at that moment they was about to break the internet. He knew that, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, this is the moment. I might as well make it into a moment. But then what was interesting was then Will kind of, I think, took it to just higher and higher levels, to the point where
Hmm.
you saw the comedian in Chris Rock kind of turn off. So he was sort of like, he said it was just a joke about GI, and then Will was like, "Get my wife's name, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth." And then Chris, I think, said a little bit more, and then Will repeated himself,
Yes,
keep
he
my
did.
wife's name out of your effing mouth. And then that's when you saw Chris get serious for a minute. Then it became black man to black man. It wasn't comedian to comedian. It was
Oh,
like,
he
okay,
looked
okay,
frightened.
I'll stop. But even then, Chris still said something like, "This was the greatest moment in television history," because he's intelligent. They're both smart. This was interesting. These are both very smart men.
Really, you know what? I would have to say, Will Smith for sure is really smart. Chris Rock, I thought was really smart. I guess I'm like talking bad about Chris Rock today, but I saw him on Bill Maher. Do you remember Bill Maher? He used to make appearances on Bill Maher, and it was after he did a real
Yeah.
brilliant stand up. I just was a little. It was a little kind of like, eh. He wasn't that. I thought he was gonna have better answers on the Bill Maher show. And he
Mm.
just seemed to be cracked these silly jokes and didn't really seem to give really good commentary, I felt. But that was many, many years ago when I was watching Bill Maher and Chris
Yeah, well,
Rock was just starting his stand up. Hmm.
what I really saw honestly is I really saw both of these guys, you know, being like you can see the reason why both of them are successful, right? They both have a tremendous amount of discipline and courage. And
Yeah.
I say it like that because even though I think Will, if Will was my brother, I would have been like, man, don't do that. Don't go up and slap him on stage. Like, slap him in some other way, but you slapping people in public, you're gonna go to jail for that. It creates a lot of problems. So I don't think strategically that was very smart. And I don't think you have to act like a 25-year-old, or be like act like you're a 25-year-old rapper to get respect. You're 50, you're 51 years old. How would a
Hmm.
51-year-old handle this? But it took courage for him to get up and say, I'm going to do this, right? I don't care about losing my career. Like there's a lot of people be like, oh, but he'll never act again. He'll never work in this town again.
Oh, that's
Will
not.
don't care about that. Will is independently wealthy. Will owns assets, you know? So Will doesn't need
Oh,
Hollywood's approval for anything, right? So I respect that, right? But
yeah.
and then with Chris, I saw his discipline and his strength come out in the fact that I think he handled it about as well as anybody could have handled it. Live TV, millions of
I
people.
think I would have hit him back. That would have we would have been scrapping on this. We would have been rolling around. We would have been just a natural tendency. We would have been just rolling around on the front. They would have had to cut the film.
Remember the Source Awards back in the 90s when they, when they, when they were throwing chairs.
Oh my God. You know, I instantly thought about the Source Awards when I saw them when I saw them slap. I said, "Oh, this is like the Source Awards."
Oh my God. I would love to see Aaron
Ghetto.
Magruder do an episode about if he did can you imagine what a Boondocks episode would be like about this? And then Tyler Perry's in the background with his Medea on and Diddy comes on the stage.
Well,
Denzel's
see,
in the audience. Like all these interesting characters. And then Diddy comes out and Diddy kind of had his little speech and he kind of handled it reasonably well. I thought that was interesting.
well, you know what? Let me tell you before. I do not remember this lady's name, and she didn't say her name, but she is a real funny black comedian actress. She was one of the hosts. There were three hosts on um, the Oscars. But she took a stab at Will and Jada at the beginning because she was talking about, she never introduced herself, and that's probably why I don't remember her name, but she's been in really funny movies, and she does a really good job in them. But she said, "I'm single." That's how she introduced herself. So again, she's playing this kind of, what's the black female stereotype? The whore. She's playing the whore stereotype tonight. Anyway, so so she was calling down all the single men and just trying to like basically sexual harass these men on stage. It was really bizarre, boys. I have to show it to you. If anyone saw it, they'll know what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
she was just kind of filling up men and trying to figure out who's single, and she's like, she wants a man. I don't know. It was just like whatever. So she in her little skit, she calls out Will Smith as if he's single. And she
What?
said, "Well, I know Jada don't care, so you might as well just come on up." So it was making a reference. So this was at the beginning of the Oscars.
Oh,
She at
really?
you know how they have the big intro where they invite the host out, and
Right.
then they all kind of like they take stabs at everybody for the night. That was her kind of like hit at that couple, and so she was saying, I know Jada doesn't care, so Will, you come on up. And Will was like, I'm not playing that game, because everyone else came up, like people were kind of playing along with her skit, but Will refused to play along. So I think he started the night kind of on edge.
Well,
And mhm.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, 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 that's okay. Go ahead. You were gonna say
Well,
something.
remember, think about it though. Will Smith has been spending a lot of time with Richard Williams, so Venus and Serena's daddy,
Yeah.
and he don't take no smack. He don't care nothing about these Hollywood elites. He don't care nothing about these white folks out in
Oh,
L.A. So sitting there talking to a Richard Williams, like imagine, like even if you imagine him sitting, if he was sitting around talking to somebody like me, for a long, like listening to someone
Uh-huh.
like me for a long period of time. Like Will Smith, what's interesting about this smack, and not that
Yes.
I don't condone it, right, babe? I don't think this is the right way to handle it, and I just got to say this as a fellow 50-year-old black man. I don't think that's the best way. But here's the deal: if anybody has the power to pull off a smack like this, it's Will Smith. He's got all the power he needs. There's nothing that other than just basic decency, strategy, or not getting locked up that would stop him from being able to do that. Like, look, I'm gonna go up here in the Oscars and I'm gonna let you know you ain't gonna talk about my wife. Now, I'm not saying again, there's a lot of ways Will could have handled it, but I part of me does kind of admire, you mentioned that earlier about protecting black women, and kind of asking
I
that question, like, it would Chris Rock
mhm.
have made that same joke about Nicole Kidman?
You, as you are talking, I am sitting here stunned because it does sound like something that the father, Richard, probably has influence over Will in that way, because it kind of reminds me. Remember the infamous uh, interview with Serena,
Yeah,
and how the reporter was like, "How do you know that you're the best?" And he jumps in and says, "Don't you ask my daughter that question." Remember that whole scene?
yeah, yeah,
That was a little bit of King Richard's energy right there, getting up there and smacking them.
yeah.
Don't you
And,
think?
and who says he can't do what he wants? I
Yeah.
mean, who said, I mean, again, as long as you're okay with the fact that the police are coming and you will be sued, if you okay with it, then I'm okay with, because I'm not going to argue against the fact that you saw a powerful black man defending the honor of his beautiful black wife.
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
can you imagine how she felt? Like she probably felt like, "Oh, my man is my friend. He is sticking up for me." In a way, and she it's true. You can tell. And then when he won the award, I mean, it was a really sincere embrace that they gave each other. And I just knew he was going to talk about it. And he was very emotional during that speech. It was beautiful speech.
Well,
Did you get
remember,
to listen to it?
yeah, I did hear it. I did hear it.
Hmm.
I could tell. Yeah, and he was crying. I wish I could play it for you guys, but it's Oscars video, so it's on my. I put it on my Instagram though. My Instagram is the Real Boyce Watkins. And by the way, let me interrupt real quick and let you all know you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. If everybody could take 1 second and please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We give away lots of free stuff, and my wife happens to be an expert at helping you to get rid of all the pain of dysfunctional family relationships or dysfunctional situations you're dealing with. She's a great therapist. She's a licensed social worker and full professor of social work and things like that. So feel free to follow her at coachingwithdralicia.com. That's her website. So anyway, guys, so I think so with that speech, let's talk about that speech. So I put the speech on my Instagram, the Real Boyce Watkins. What did you get from that speech? I saw that Will looked very emotional. He looked like
Hmm.
he was also sort of reflecting on the gravity of the moment. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, there were several things that I got from the speech, but one of it was just like, I'm up here and I'm emotional, and it's not about the Oscar. I'm up here because I want to honor these black women and King Richard. It's like I'm up here for them. These are the reason. This is the reason why I did this movie, was to lift up these talented, beautiful people, and he did a wonderful tribute to the Williams family in his speech. So it was very clear that it wasn't about the Oscar. And I thought that was beautiful, because you know how we feel about the Oscars. And it really meant something to him that he got recognized in this way. But I think it was more so the tribute, which was important. That was one of the things that I took away from the speech. The second one was real fascinating, because you mentioned earlier how Denzel Washington was kind of pulling him to the side, kind of calming him down and talking to him or whatever. But he mentioned Denzel Washington in his speech. And in that speech, he said, right when you're at the pinnacle, right when you're at the top of who you are, and right when you're at the top, there's always going to be the devil trying to bring you down. And I was like, whoa. And when he made that statement, I said, oh, that slap was real. That was not staged. That's when I realized, God,
Hmm.
that was a real slap. Because if he hadn't had staged, if he hadn't, because the slap happened before he won his Oscar, but if it hadn't been, if it hadn't gone that his way, we never would have known what was going on inside of him. But so I felt like he was really charged up with emotion. Who knows what type of conversations he had or what type of meditations he did before he went into the Oscars, but he was on a whole different level.
Well, you know
Wouldn't you
what I
say?
just thought of. You know what I just thought about, babe. And
Mm-hmm.
does anybody give me a yes or no in the chat if y'all remember this? Do y'all remember when Chris Rock made that joke about Janet Jackson and dating Jermaine Jackson? Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
And if you recall in that joke, who was it? Jermaine Jackson, not Jermaine. I'm sorry, Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri was not happy with that joke. If you don't recall, I think he said something like, when we saw Jermaine Dupri dating Janet Jackson, we were all thinking, damn, I had a chance, and then
Yeah.
we all had a chance, and it was a really funny joke and very accurate, honestly, but.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell Jermaine wasn't feeling that. Like Jermaine probably wanted to slap Chris then too.
Yeah, so I was saying he had it coming. He
Mm.
had it coming, and Will Smith will probably go to jail for it. And I think Will Smith will be like, I will gladly pay the bail. I will gladly serve my time or whatever happened, whatever comes of it. He seems to be okay with the consequences.
How about that comment on the screen from Rose Speak? That's a good question, y'all. Y'all see what Rose just said? She said Will
Ah,
would not have slapped a white host. Interesting. What do y'all think? Y'all think if there had been Jimmy Kimmel or or some, I don't know, who's the famous white people? Robert De Niro or somebody like that. You think he would have
hmm.
slapped a white guy?
Yeah, I'm not certain. Like, so twice, I'm thinking that's the second time in the night that he got teased by black people. So I don't even know if white people even think about making fun of black people like that. I just don't think that they have permit. I just don't think that they think it's their
Well,
area to
well,
do it in that way.
well,
Hmm.
well, you know what I felt like? I felt like Chris Rock joking about it. It's like for black people, Will and Jada's entanglements kind of like an inside joke. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like white people don't know, but they're not as into it as we are. Because we
yeah,
understand these people. We're fellow black people. Like this is our community. So I feel like Chris making the joke about Will and Jada is different than it would be if it were a white guy. And I don't even know. I mean, I'm just wondering, would Jimmy Kimmel make a joke like that? Would Jimmy Kimmel look at a bald head Jada Pinkett and say, "I'm looking forward to GI Jane too"? I honestly
I don't think
I
so.
can't see it. Yeah, I can't see that coming
Hmm.
out. So you have to wonder, like, do we have a special kind of vitriol toward one
Each
another
other.
that we
Hmm.
don't have when we talking to Massa?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's real. That's heavy. Well, you know what, babe? I had so many friends, like Dr. Maurice Green and others, that wanted to talk about this so bad. What do you think
Are
about
you
us?
gonna?
You want,
Are we gonna bring them in?
you want me to invite them in?
Yeah, bring them in. The more the
Okay.
merrier.
All right. I'll try to invite them in now.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
How
I'm.
you feeling?
All right. Let me share the. I'll share the link. I can't promise you I know who's gonna come in. Somebody might come in and try to slap me, and then but I'm gonna punch him back.
Give you
So
a virtual slap.
yeah, so we might just some random person might come in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but so
I
what?
swear I thought it was staged. I thought it was staged because he kind of had a smile on his face, and I couldn't tell if the slap, if he connected the hand to Chris Rock's face. I kept looking at the video. I ain't gonna lie. I was like looking like I don't think they connected. It just didn't seem like it just seemed staged to me at the beginning.
Oh, really?
I'm a little confused. I'm not gonna lie. But then I just told myself it doesn't even really matter. It happened and we saw it.
So what would you say? Okay, so let's say I want you to put your therapist hat on for a minute. If you were Will Smith's therapist and you knew about the marital challenges and maybe some of the stress of being made fun of in on the internet, stuff like that, what conversation would you have with him, in terms of what just happened?
You mean in terms of him? What do you mean? Say that again. You mean in terms of him sticking up, feeling the need to stick up for his wife, feeling the
Yeah, just
need to protect her?
what would you say to Will? Like what how would you um
Oh, oh, what would I say to him if I found out that he went and slapped somebody as a way of protecting his wife?
yeah.
Yeah, I would ask him what was going on with you, what was happening to you, what was that triggered, what was triggered for you in those comments about your wife's hair. You know, what conversations did you have with her about how sensitive she might be? And she has been on social media talking about how it is a sensitive topic to her and had been something that she had been covering up for some time. And so she just recently kind of was just like, I'm just going to go bald. And so I would get into, you know, his need to, his love for her and his need to protect her. I would also be talking to him about stress management and relaxation and meditation and coming up with a better way to handle conflict than to get up and slap somebody. Most definitely, I would tell him he had no business doing that, and that it's illegal and he could probably go to jail and he has to face the consequences of it. And you know, I don't tell people what to do. I just try to process how they felt in the moment, what they were thinking, and how all of that relates to their behavior and what consequences there are to that behavior. I do not tell people what to do and what not to do. I say if you're going to go around slapping people who make off comments about the people who you care about, what do you think the rest of your life is going to look like? And so I just let them kind of make their own decisions. I really am not in a position to judge others in their decisions because I do believe that people do the best that they can. They do the best that they can in all situations. And we don't know what struggles he's been going through personally. I imagine it's probably something. You know, I imagine it's probably there. We don't know the type of conversations he might have with any of these individuals backstage or leading up to the Oscars. I mean, we all know. I mean, in the woo woo world, we do know that big televised events like this is ritualistic, and so we can't take that out of the equation either. So
Okay.
yeah, it's
Guess
a tough
what?
one. Hmm.
We have a guest, Dr. Maurice
Oh,
Green. He's the
oh,
head of the
Maurice
he's
Green.
the head of the Black Doctoral Network, which is the largest organization of Black PhDs in the entire country. So Dr. Green is a badass, and he wants to join us. So let me see if I can bring this brother in here. Let me hit the button right quick. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Dr. Green.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Sure can, brother. How you doing, man?
I mean, we're all up late now.
Man, the
So
whole world. These dudes broke the internet.
listen, man, it's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. Like
It's
this is just
sad.
something else, man. I, yeah, I thought we'd all be in bed sleep by now, but obviously there's a lot to be said about what we all witnessed.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
We're bringing you into the bed today, into our
Okay,
pillow
okay.
talk.
I'm
Hey,
just
hey, hey!
I,
Ain't no entanglement
no, I'm just
here.
bringing
It's
food.
entanglement.
I'm
Ain't
just bringing
nobody else
food.
in this bed now. Y'all quit that crazy talk. We ain't doing that crazy talk.
We are talking about Will and Jada today. So,
Cause since we all getting to slapping people now. Don't.
Right,
So what
right,
do you think, man? Okay, so as a black man, we're both black men of a certain age, right?
right,
We're not kids,
right,
and we're just seeing these two megastars, these two men who are role models, right? They're respected by a lot of people. And you see this confrontation, like what goes through your mind, like when you see this, and two black men, and this is on a global stage, the whole world was watching.
right.
How do you feel about that?
Embarrassed. I mean, totally personally. I mean, obviously, it's not my personal battle or issue, but it's humiliating and it's mortifying, right? Because these are two well-respected African American men that are considered by many to be icons in the entertainment industry, and to see this their behavior relegate to just buffoonery, violence, um, just the lowest possible intellectual response that you'd expect from these two, or one or two, however you view the altercation. Just embarrassing, right? Because it makes it very, very difficult to tell people that look up to these men, right, that if you feel offended, right, if you feel like someone has hurt your feelings, that violence is not the answer, right? This is what we're expected to tell old men, young men, right? That you've got to have a better response to conflict, beyond violence. So now, we have two of the icons of the entertainment industry, and Will Smith felt like he was disrespected, or his wife was disrespected, and so he felt comfortable enough to respond violently. And I think the thing that shocked me the most is his explanation, right? The justification, right? He said something to the effect that you do crazy things for love, right? So
Mm,
not only did he enact this violence upon, Chris Rock, but he gave a public justification for it. And you and I both know how many black men are in the cemetery because they responded to conflict violently. They're in prisons, they're in hospitals, right? And this is the kind of behavior that we say, is not what we expect of young people, right? And here we have two grown men engaged in this kind of behavior, and it's just a no pun intended black eye, right?
Mhm.
on
mm,
on the views of black people, black men more specifically, and I've actually seen how this thing is being, talked about. Like, so one, they talk about Chris Rock attacking black women, right? So it's specifically, black men attacking black women. So that's the one narrative. And then the toxic masculinity of Will Smith striking Chris Rock. And so this is a lose lose all the way around.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I keep trying to in my head sort of look at this in terms of switching the races, switching the ethnicity, switching the gender around. What if this was two women? What if this was two white guys?
Hmm.
What if I don't know, Brad Pitt got up and walked on stage and slapped Ben Affleck.
Hmm.
You know, and now, I wonder how the world might see it, differently, if at all, from this situation, right? I don't think I think though I think that a lot of people would condemn that kind of behavior. I think that the guy, the aggressor, no matter what his justification was, no matter how bad his feelings were hurt, he would be rejected. They would say, "What are you doing, man? Like, come on." But this is,
Hmm.
I don't think anybody would applaud it and say, "Yeah, he was defending his wife's honor. That's so great." Um, and I think that this just this idea, like you said, you made a good point, man. I just talked to a brother, or a brother whose father, he went to prison when he was 2. His dad went to prison when he was 2. He just got out, and the kid is 30 now. He's 30. His father's been in prison for damn near the first 30 years of his life. And the reason he went to prison for 30 years was because he got into a situation where a man disrespected him, and he took his life. Now obviously that's different from a slap, right? But still, this idea that you disrespected me, you did take my name out your mouth. Now
Right.
I'm gonna I got to handle it a certain way. That has consequences. I don't know if that's. I agree with you, man. I'm not comfortable with it.
Right. I mean, I think so. When we say it's different, like, because on the one hand, someone got killed, obviously, and another person got slapped, but it's about scale, right? So we're talking about this way because Chris Rock did not respond in like manner, right? But that's not to say he didn't have that option, right? That he couldn't have said, "Wait a minute, you slapped me on the biggest stage. Now I'm gonna come down there and I'm gonna come see you." and now we have a melee, and then security gets involved, and then some, it his I think we should look at the fact that Chris Rock had some kind of restraint, right, as one of the main reasons why we're not talking about this differently, right? So
Mm,
so when I look at it, I'm saying, okay, but we're going to tell young men, you know, someone offends you, someone says something to you, okay, somehow you're justified in enacting violence. Now, the argument that Will Smith, that Chris Rock shouldn't have insulted his wife, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. Like, so Chris Rock is a comedian. Comedians go across the line all the time. They talk about their wives, their children. Like, Kevin Hart called his child the B word. Like, they constantly go over the line. It's a part of comedy. Now, some people think it's distasteful, and that's fine. But now, are we suggesting that when anyone else decides that they hear something a comedian says, they're gonna walk up stage and start slapping people? I mean, it's just a bad precedent. And I think more specifically, like when you change the race, right? If Ben Affleck got slapped by someone, there's not that pre-existing notion of violence associated with white men in this country, unfortunately, right? Despite evidence to the contrary, right? But black men have got to be mindful that they are seen in America and throughout the world in some instances as violent or dangerous or given to fits of anger and almost like children. And here is
mm,
an American icon walking up and slapping another man. It's just embarrassing on every possible level, boys.
mm. Wow. Well, everybody who's watching, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. And tonight on the special episode, we're talking about what happened tonight. The big slap with Will Smith, Chris Rock. We know what all went down. But I'm hoping as intelligent black people, we can take the conversation to a level where we can learn from this and not just make it about the gossip. My heart goes out to everybody that was involved in all of this. And if you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And if you want to support the platform, you can go to intelligentblackpeople.com. We'd love to have more people in our tribe. Oh, all right,
Mhm.
so let's go. Let's dig into that. Right. So first of all, I want everybody to know alopecia. Let's talk about alopecia for a
Mhm.
minute,
Mhm.
which is what Jada basically said, or I think she's mentioned alopecia and hair falling out, in clumps. From what
Mhm.
I have read, it's not terminal. It's not something that's serious. Now it could be a symptom of an
Mhm.
autoimmune condition, but it's not as if Jada has cancer or something like that. Because that's what I thought about. I said, well,
Mhm.
maybe you got a cancer diagnosis and he's just pissed off about that. And in which case, I ain't gonna lie, I can forgive that, right? But so you're talking about the difficult and embarrassing experience. And Alicia, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this
Mhm.
as well. The difficult, embarrassing experience of a woman losing her hair and having to cut it all off, and then having somebody get on stage and make a joke about it. Um, tell Alicia, are you able to? Can you hear us, babe?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm listening.
I'd love to hear your thoughts as a black woman. And you have beautiful hair. Our girls have beautiful hair. Um, what do you think we're missing? Is there anything that we're missing as men in terms of understanding how it might feel to have someone like a Chris Rock make a joke about something that's already distressing you, on a global stage? Like, I mean, what would kind of be going through your mind emotionally and otherwise?
Well, I mean, we kind of know what Jada was kind of feeling because it was all over her face. I mean, she just looked,
Mm, yeah.
she looked really like, oh my goodness, her face was not. She was not taking that joke very well, and Will Smith uh, cued in on her reaction, and I could see him sitting there not being happy with what Chris Rock was saying and pulling him to the side. So I definitely agree with Maurice Green's analysis there. But to be bold enough to get up and go clear up that stage and attack in that way, just because she was upset. I mean, if you're in Hollywood, people talk about you, and you put your basically your marriage out there and your relationship out there. We know way too much about their marriage and their relationship than we need to. I was just quite frankly surprised that they were that offended by those jokes, because they get a lot of jokes, a lot of jokes. I think there was correct me if I'm wrong, boys. Wasn't there a petition going around on the internet saying they need to just stop, telling their business on the internet? We don't want to hear it anymore. Do you
Yeah,
remember that? Yeah. So I think like people were just like, I'm done. I'm done knowing way too much about your intimate life. I don't need to know that.
yeah. So you know what, and that's interesting. And Dr. Green, I'd like to get your thoughts on that as well. It's, I mean, some might say, I'm not saying I'm saying this, but I
Mhm.
think that this is a valid way to possibly see it, is that you would expect they would know it comes with the territory. I
Right.
was very surprised, when y'all remember the entanglement, the whole thing where Jada
Mm,
was sleeping with the singer August Alsina, who was, I think that guy's like 26, 27 years old, something. He's very
Mhm.
young, and and Will and Jada did a red table talk about it.
Mhm.
I think that would be the point. I almost felt like that should be the point where you shut it down, where you say, "My family and I asked for privacy at this time, and
mm-hmm,
we hope that you'll respect that." I was very shocked that they were so hungry for viewership and ratings and attention that they did a red table talk about it, especially when they didn't seem to have everything together. Like I really got a sense Will was really upset about what happened,
mm-hmm,
and I know, even with, think about it. I mean, my wife and I, we people know that we're together. We talk, we do things together. But if we were having an issue that serious, if that were to ever happen, not that my wife would ever do that, but if that ever happened, ain't none of y'all gonna hear about it. Not from me. I'm not doing no episodes about that. What do you think, Dr. Green?
Yeah, I think there's a certain level of acceptance, right, in terms of becoming a public figure, that you open yourself up to certain criticisms, and being in the public eye. And as you stated so eloquently, there's a lot of the attention that they have actually invited, right, even to a greater degree than some people are comfortable, right? So e- but again, that's not to say that they're not people, right? And that they don't have feelings, they don't have emotions, they don't get embarrassed or hurt, or feel shamed, right? But I think that the danger that we run into, right, when we say, or when just when we start to interpret the events of the evening, that he was protecting his woman and things like that. Dr. Alicia, you know how people can justify anything that they do, right? They can
mm-hmm,
they can formulate all kinds of rationales behind why I, acted the way I did, as if it was something that they couldn't help, right? And so when again, just getting back to the embarrassment and to the shame associated with what we all um unfortunately witnessed, either in real time or after the fact, I think that we just need to be careful of allowing for justifications, right? Like he, protecting my wife. She said that I felt like I had to defend her honor. Like, all of these things sound like the same excuses that we hear in the streets when people are on their way to prison. I I couldn't let that person disrespect me. Like,
mm-hmm.
we have to think, right? We have to be able to think and not just respond in ways that are detrimental, beyond the initial incident. You understand? I mean, that's kind of the thing that sticks out the most. Yes, they are in the public sphere, but I think Will had a whole lot of things built up anyway. And this was just an easy, well, I don't know, I don't want to say it's easy, let's just say convenient way to demonstrate, either his frustration, or the fact that he's a man, or the fact that he's, strong, or the fact, I mean, I think there are all kinds of problematic unsatisfactory justifications going on for that behavior. But I think again, the ramifications of this will be far-reaching, right? And again, just looking at the internet and the sphere and just seeing the justifications, and even like I said, his speech afterwards, I did it for love and I'm protecting my family, like like I like the Williams the Williams sisters' dad. No, family, that's not what you were doing, right? You were acting like a complete buffoon on one of the largest stages that we've ever seen. And here's another question: if it wasn't Chris Rock, what if it was Dwayne Johnson, The Rock? And he said the joke, right? I want to know if Dwayne Johnson got up there and said, "Hey, something about GI Joe." I want to know. Well, from Philly, I want to know if you want to jump up and slap Dwayne The Rock Johnson in his face with all this strength and masculinity you got going on, or was it convenient that it was, Chris Rock? Now, if he would have, now listen, if Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, would have said that joke, and Will Smith would have jumped up and slapped The Rock, I'd have been like, "Go ahead, Will. I'm proud of you."
Oh my God, it was Pookie. Pookie said it. Pookie
Right,
Pookie said it, so Pookie gets
you running
slapped.
up on Pookie. You running
That's
up on
funny.
Pookie being the man.
That's
I want to
funny.
see you do that to The Rock, the other Rock. Now, if you do that, then I might, I'm fickle. I can be won over. If you want to
That
slap Dwayne Johnson, I might have to give you some points. But you
that's
slap
funny.
a little.
Hey, by the way, Dr. Green, I meant to ask you, is your Instagram Dr. Green Speaks?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
It's
I'll put it
Dr.
on the
Green Speaks,
screen.
the website, the podcast. It's all Dr. Green Speaks.
Okay, I want everybody to follow Dr. Green. Dr. Green, y'all may not have heard that earlier, but he's the head of the Black Doctoral Network, which tell me if I'm wrong on this, brother. It's the largest organization of Black PhDs and doctoral students in the country. Is that right?
It's definitely one of them. It's definitely one of them.
Yeah. So
I
so
know
y'all
we
should check
top three. I
the
know
brother out.
that.
He's very smart. What'd you say?
I said we at least top three. I'd say number one, but you never know. The numbers change every day, so
Well, y'all the best. Y'all the only one I know about at that level. So,
Thank you
uh,
so much, Doc.
yeah. All every PhD I know is in the organization. I don't know how they all ended up in there, man. But you're doing great work. Well, everybody, do us a favor real quick, if you could. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. You are watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, and my wife's website and Instagram and everything is coachingwithdralicia.com. She's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So if you love what this Black woman has to say, feel free to go to her website, coachingwithdralicia.com, and you know who I am. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm just hanging out. So I'm gonna tell you, man. One of the things that goes through my mind, I want to ask my wife a question. I'm gonna ask her this question publicly. I haven't asked you this question yet, but okay. So Alicia, let's just make the conversation 100% real quick then. Um, you and I have, in our little space, we've had situations where men have said things that were highly inappropriate. You know, I'm not even gonna say the name of the person who did it, but y'all probably know who it is if I mention him. I'm not gonna really bring that energy into the space because we ain't trying to get into no silly stuff. But he said a lot of things that were not true. He said a lot of things that I felt were very rude, disrespectful, and petty. Um, and so what would you have done? Well, how would you feel if I saw him somewhere and I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna go to jail today. I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna smack this dude. I'm gonna smack him. What would you be thinking? What would go through your mind? I'd be really curious about that.
Okay, let me just say, there is no way we'd be dating if you were prone to be violent like that. That to me, that's not manhood.
Come on.
Manhood is somebody that knows how to get along with people. Manhood is somebody that can rise above that situation, and manhood is someone, who can protect. Like if someone was actually coming at me physically, and you jumped in, to actually protect me physically because I was being injured. I mean, that's one thing, but to sit around and get totally taken off your path just so that you can go and fight somebody. And you know, that's one thing I talk about all the time. Like, boy, you're too busy to be fighting these people. Like there are people, there are people who fight us all the time. I'm like, you got things to do in this world. You don't have time to sit and fight with everybody. And
Mm,
so it's just, I mean, because in how I see it is that the fight is really going on internally.
mm.
And there's a lot of
And
people that's fighting inside, and so everywhere they go, it's a fight because they're struggling. So it's just not the kind of person you're. If you did that, you just wouldn't be the kind of. You're not my type of crowd. I make that comment.
well, you know what's interesting? A lot of people, a lot of y'all listening don't know this, but me and this particular person, and he did a lot of video. For some reason, he became really obsessed with me. And he talked about me every day for about weeks, and the videos were like tiny. They would get hundreds of thousands of views, and I didn't watch any of them. I didn't see one word of it. But people will come back to me and say, he said this about you, that about you, and I think it was weird. I just wasn't that affected by it, and the thing was, we had a conference and he was there. He was coming to the
Oh,
conference, and a lot of
mhm.
people were making a big deal about it. Like, you know, oh, y'all might be in the same space. How you gonna handle that? And I said, well, I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to, if he's got things he would like to say about me, then I would love for him to just say those things to me. And it doesn't mean I'm gonna punch you in the face. I just really want you to look me in the eye as a man and say exactly what you just said, so I can understand where you're coming from. Because I don't really get offended by a lie. I don't get offended by things that just it's almost like I really think that when you get to where you are going in the mud with people like that,
Mhm.
you're really debasing yourself in some situations. Like, you're kind of acknowledging that it really bothers you, right? But if it's a bunch of bullshit, you're just like, why are you? Why would you say something that is that stupid? I think that's really what was going through my head. Like, this don't make no sense. Is he on drugs? He need a therapist? Like, come on, like, black man to black man, we should probably talk. And I got that from my dad. Like, my dad was a guy. My father has actually killed people. My father is a guy who has never been. I've never seen him afraid of anything, but he also understood that violence was something you did if it was necessary. It wasn't your first resort to every single situation, because that shows a lack of strategy and intelligence in a lot of situations. I don't know but that was literally honestly what was going through my mind. So I think that with Will, I what really kind of got me was I'm kind of like, wait a minute, but you're Will Smith. You obviously have forgotten how significant and how powerful you are. You don't see yourself the way the world sees you. I see him next to Barack Obama. This man could be president of the United States if he wanted to be. So why you got to be running up on stage slapping people like you some $2 Negro from the street? You ain't some guy who's got no clout, who's trying to get recognized. You know what I mean? Like, you're Will Smith. If you're gonna handle it in a way that is probably more effective, that won't get you in trouble, won't have you looking like a fool, but will still maybe let Chris know, like, that's not cool, brother. You know what I mean? Like that, to me, it seems to me like the most. But then again, I guess he wasn't being logical. Maybe I think that there's something happening emotionally within Will,
Mhm.
where he
Mhm.
himself doesn't feel like he's really Will Smith. Like, maybe the reason he is so successful, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, either one of y'all, but um, I think that maybe his drive to be so successful is because maybe deep down he doesn't feel like he's enough.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
do y'all think? Or am I reading too much into it?
No, no, I agree. But I think so. The more I think about like just the way it went down, like he wasn't thinking. I think he was thinking, right? Because the truth is, he knew when he slapped, Chris Rock, that nothing was really going to happen, right?
Mm,
I don't
okay.
think it was as I think it was calculated, right? Because as crazy as it seems, Hollywood is crazy, the entertainment industry is crazy,
Mhm.
right? All kinds of weird stuff goes on. If he does that here, right, and he slaps, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get views. The internet is broken, everybody's talking about it, and we know that these entertainment people crave attention more than anything else. Now, do you think he would have slapped Chris Rock in the street? I think that's a different problem, right? It's not. a controlled environment, right? So I don't think it was brave, right? And as I'm seeing some people say it was brave, but I think it was calculated. And he walked back like it was a movie because, hey,
Mm,
I'm
he
Will Smith.
did.
He walked
Yes,
by.
he
Yeah, I did
did.
that. I did that. But the things that people do, you know, it seemed as if it was very public because it was, right. Everyone saw it, but it's like anything else. Would you do that on the street with Chris Rock and he had his friends, or you don't know the environment is less controlled? Probably not. But
Wow.
again, if we're talking about a people or the types of people that crave attention, this is exact. You can't buy this kind of attention. I don't know if he has a.
Oh, it was his moment. It
Yeah,
was his
listen,
moment, and nobody was taking that from him. Oh no.
no,
Mm,
exactly. And so we saying like, look, how him winning the award is nice, and we all would have said, that's nice, congratulations. This thing has become a worldwide phenomenon at the expense of
Mhm.
Chris Rock, which I think is the epitome of, well, I don't want to call, well, Doc, you would know if it's narcissistic behavior. I don't want to start throwing out words that you know how armchair
You don't
psychologists, we
use
all
those
use
words
these
too much.
words that we barely know what it means. But that desire to be bigger than life, because now he's probably going to be the most famous Oscar winner in history, right?
mm,
Mhm. Yeah,
wow.
I
So
mean,
you think it?
just
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Alicia.
no. I was saying that sounds good. Just because you desire to do great things in life doesn't make you a narcissist.
Right.
It's right. So all of us have a desire. It's just that we have to know that when we fail, or if we're embarrassed, or if something happens, our whole entire sense of self doesn't get shattered. People
Mm.
who are narcissistic are extremely insecure, and they do any and everything. They will they will go to extreme to make sure that the fantasy world that they've built for themselves continues. And and so if you cut through any of that, or talk about them publicly, or embarrass them publicly, they will go on rants, and they will slap somebody. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Mm.
most people have some sense of narcissism. It's a spectrum, probably.
Right.
But
Mhm.
Well,
yeah.
okay. So, Dr. Alicia, I'm gonna ask you to put your therapist hat on, and let's say that somebody mentioned that they think that I know you see a lot of couples, that are kind of struggling with their relationships and stuff like that. So, somebody in the chat mentioned that Will and Jada need to talk to you. Um, if they came in as your clients, and knowing what you know, right, knowing about the entanglement, knowing about the slap, see, they're getting like memed by on all of this, I guess, because it's now starting to become like, like almost like saying you Googled somebody, right? The
Right.
slap, the entanglement, we're kind of naming it. But what would be some things that you might kind of want to ask them about, or what are some recommendations you would make to them? Besides maybe keeping your relationship off the internet as much. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would for sure ask Will Smith what those tears were about. I
Mhm.
get the sense
Mm,
that it was more than just he won this award. I think you're right. Someone mentioned it was either one, I don't remember if it was you or Maurice, but he is going through some emotional something turmoil right now. And
mhm.
and it's very clear. It's like he's wearing his emotion on his sleeve. And that cry, it lasted a long time, like longer than I thought it would be. And it wasn't like a sniffle of a cry. I mean, it was a full on. I mean, he didn't even wipe his face. He needed tissue and to wipe his face. So it just seems like it was just more than, I won this Oscar and I'm really grateful, and thank God, thank the Academy, and then just escort yourself off the stage. Like, he really felt that there was a deeper sense or deeper something going on there. And it was, I don't know if he even got a lot of it out,
Mhm.
because that speech went really long. But I would first try to figure out what was it, what was he feeling, and what did that mean that it related to Jada. Clearly it has something to do with something that's happening. And then the rumors, of course, are that they have an open relationship. That's the rumor. That rumor has been going on for quite some time. It's never died. So if that's the case, I would definitely start there and ask them about what are the rules of their marriage. And are we all on board?
Hmm.
Is everybody on board with how things are operating and how things are going, and how do we get on the same page? I would
Mm.
probably start
Well,
there.
well, you know
Hmm.
what, Dr. Green? One of the things I noticed in Will's acceptance speech when he won that Oscar for King Richard, I was super happy about that actually because I was happy that he got a chance to go up there and try to redeem himself, and then B, I just thought that was an excellent movie in terms of its representation of the black father. A lot of people seem to act like black fathers don't matter, and people like that don't understand what it takes to protect a community. But Dr. Green, do you think that, I noticed that in Will's speech as he was talking about King Richard and, what that meant, and obviously kind of subtly addressing what had happened before, he kept saying things like, at this point in my life, I'm realizing that, right? So
Hmm.
almost like sound like he's in a transition, like he's determined to transform into something else. And I think he said the term "my people," right?
Yeah.
I'm picking up like some racial overtones there, maybe, or maybe
Hmm.
even the playing that role, like choosing that role of Richard Williams, because his film made that, his company made that movie, and he chose that role. I think that there's something there, right, in terms of Will maybe as a black man, sort of transitioning into a new state of existence, just as a human being, like my people. I'm protecting. I'm a man. I'm about family. I'm gonna do this. What were you kind of seeing there? Like, are you seeing kind of a different Will Smith from all of that?
Right. No, I definitely, well, like you said, I was very, very happy about, the win. I think the depiction of King Richard, or Richard Williams, as a determined, committed father against the odds. I think that is a type of movie or film that we need to see more of. And if I remember correctly, and I guess people like Will, I mean, they're great actors, right? And in doing their craft as well as they do it, they have to really get into the character, right? Almost to the point where they become the character, right?
Hmm.
So that they can present that authenticity on the screen, right? So there's almost like a becoming that individual. Now, if that's the case, there are some actors that have, they talk about how it's hard to unwind from, um, you know, pretending to be something for so long that, there's sometimes that adjustment period, right? But based upon the character, yes, the father, was very protective of his family, right? And I think that he was trying to say that, um, that's what he was doing. Like, I'm doing like King Richard. I'm defending my family, and I'm trying to be, a better representative of my family at this point, right? But I also, I think it's kind of interesting the way playing that kind of part, that kind of dad, may put him in direct conflict or direct contrast to how maybe he raised his children, right? And the conflict in his head that might create, like, either, yes, I did it right, maybe I did it wrong, maybe I should have done it better, right? And so, that might also cause an overreaction. But it's difficult, again, for you to say that you're trying to be a better person, better father, but I just slapped the person on stage, right? That's kind of hard.
Mm.
That's a hard sell, right? I want to be a leader for my people, a
Yeah.
river for my people in the violence, right?
Hmm.
Into
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah,
don't.
I agree, and I think that he probably just he lost himself and went up there and slapped him, and then he got a chance to sit down and think about what he just did,
Mm, mm,
and then he did try to clean it up
right.
in that speech. Hmm.
Right. So I just
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
you
didn't feel like he cleaned it up though.
no, I didn't. I don't think
I
he
said
cleaned
he
it up.
tried to clean it up.
I don't know if he
Yeah,
even
I don't
tried
feel
to
like.
clean it up. I
Yeah,
think
I felt like he was. I felt like he was defending his behavior.
yeah.
Like he said,
Hmm.
I want to protect people. And
Right.
I didn't hear him say, I want to apologize to Chris Rock and his family
No.
and the people I've hurt
Right.
and let down. I didn't hear none of that.
Right. Chris
Oh, he
Rock,
kind of
his
he kind of
family.
said, I'm probably never gonna be invited to this event again." It was
That's
like,
my
this is
last
it.
Oscar.
Thank
This
you.
is it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's sad. I mean, it's funny. It's absolutely funny.
It's
And
funny.
it's
It's no
wait,
joke.
and it's sad because
Hmm.
it might be
Yeah.
your last Oscar, but again, I can't help but feel, you know, that this was calculated. And I see this often even in the chat as I just kind of found where that is, right? People say he's defending his family. He's defending his family. He walked over to a man and struck a man that didn't hit him. That's not defense. That's not self-defense, right? And I think
Mm,
the more we start talking about that, like you gave the example, like if you decided that you saw whoever was being offensive to you, your family, and you decided, you know what, I'm gonna go walk over and I'm gonna slap him, right? And thank God that Dr. Alicia said that that's not the kind of man that she wants to be. But here's the question though: is that the defense of your family? Because let's all act this out. Because again, it's on the stage, but we in the street now. I see someone, right? I'm gonna walk up to them because they were disrespectful and protect my family, right? No, that's not what's happening. See, what I'm doing at that point is putting my family in jeopardy, right? Because
mm.
you don't know what that person's response is gonna be. So I'm gonna go slap him. He gonna pull out a gun, shoot me and my companion. Was that defending my family? You understand? So I think we have this
Mm.
absurd concept of what defense looks like, right? And what masculinity looks like in public, right? The ability to know that this violence that I enact upon this person at this time could come back and visit me later, right? Or my family members or my friends. Again, it's that Tupac Biggie thing. You two might have a difference, like, so you might have Chris Rock having a difference with Will Smith and vice versa, but then you got friends and families and cousins and security guards, and now it spins outside of that. So I think we should really stop saying things. Oh, he was defending his family. Walking across the stage and slapping, that's not defense, right? That's aggression.
Mm.
And I think we need to make sure that we make that, we differentiate the two, right? You don't have to use violence when you're offended.
Yeah, well, you know what? And everybody who's listening, you're watching a special episode of Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Even though I'm all the way in Alaska, my wife's all the way in the Bahamas. We
Where are you,
decided
Dr.
to
Green?
Oh, I'm in New York,
New
bro.
York.
New York. Oh my God, we are all, yeah,
We
We're
all over
spread
the
out
place.
all over
across.
the world. Yeah, and we're talking about the Oscars tonight, and Will Smith and Chris Rock, and by the way, if either one of y'all get tired, Dr. Green or Dr. Alicia, y'all can feel free to hop off at any time. But I'm having so much fun with this. I want to keep it going. So if everybody could do us a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support the platform, you can go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That URL is on the screen. Also, Alicia's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. And I'm also give you Dr. Green's Instagram, Dr. Maurice Green. He's the president and the founder of the Black Doctoral Network. And you can actually follow him at Dr. Green Speaks. I'll put his Instagram on the screen. That's his name, Dr. Maurice Green. I'll put his Instagram up in a second. So, I think I'm gonna tell you the way I feel about a lot of this. I get both sides, right? Like I
Mhm.
totally understand all the perspectives. Like, okay, so I took a poll on my YouTube channel, and a few hundred of you responded, and about 2/3 of you feel that Will Smith was more to blame than Chris Rock. And I didn't even put Jada in there as an option. Maybe you could, if you wanted to hold her accountable, you could. And I think that that's relevant too, right? What it makes me think of is, Alicia, you and I once were talking about this video we saw where there was a woman who was in the house with her boyfriend, and the father of her kids came by to pick up the kids. And apparently he came at the wrong time, and he got into a yelling match back and forth with the other father, or with the his ex-wife's boyfriend. And the ex-wife's boyfriend felt threatened, so he went in the house and got a gun. Next thing you know, somebody was shot dead on the porch, right? And you and I broke down that dynamic, and you said some interesting things about how everybody played a part in the escalation of that situation. That
Mhm.
the woman, the woman has a lot of power, in these conflicts, just like the men do. And and when I kind of look at this, one of the things I noticed, and I really appreciated about your response earlier, was when I said to you, I said, what would you have done when that guy was talking crazy about you on the internet, really saying things that weren't true, that I didn't like, and neither one of us liked it, but we didn't, we it was, it's just people say whatever they want online. And I said, I asked you, I said, what would you have done if I said, yeah, I'm gonna see him at this thing, I'm gonna go slap him? Well, you, I think, took a lot of your power by basically saying, like, no, that's not, I would not have wanted you to handle it that way. I don't want a man who's going to act like that. In fact, you wouldn't be earning my respect. You would be losing my respect,
Yeah.
because I see you differently. I expect you to handle it in a different way. Right. And I think that's important. The reason I say that's important is because you got some women out here that are ghetto. Some women out here who would look at you and be like, you didn't go up on stage and slap the shit out of him for what he just said about me. Oh, you ain't no real man. And a lot of men, I think, and I'm wondering if Will's in this category, right? Where, because remember, Will was laughing at the joke at first. Will was kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna laugh it off. I'm Will Smith, whatever. He made a joke. It ain't nothing but a joke. And it was after Jada's facial expression, where she wasn't happy,
Mm.
that Will suddenly turned into gangster Will. Right? Did anybody else notice that? Like, Will
Mhm.
laughed at
West
first, and
Philly
then he
will.
got gangster after his. So I'm wondering. I'm just really kind of wondering deep down, because remember, Jada hung out with Tupac and all that, and you got some women out here who want that thuggish type of guy. Like, they're the ones who say, like, look, if you ain't gonna go kill somebody for me to defend my honor, then I don't want to be with you. But women like that get you killed. They get you locked up. You be doing 40 years in prison defending the honor of some chick who done moved on to another man because you got so many years in prison. So I think women have power in these
Oh,
situations. What do you think?
Oh, I got.
I okay, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. You're putting a lot of power on women. Like, if you're the kind of man that's not going to be violent, I don't think a woman gassing you up is going to change your whole disposition.
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think
I
I
don't know
don't know.
I
about.
What
don't
what you
think
think, Maurice?
so.
I think it does have an impact. I think there are a
Yeah.
lot of guys who don't want to look weak in
Oh,
front of their woman.
Right.
What do you think, Dr. Green?
So let me. Yeah, I know. We used to call it putting the battery in somebody's back. When you get somebody, when you get somebody amped up, they got to respond. So I think that is very powerful. I'm not saying that. I saw what you saw, boys. I saw him laughing. I saw her face. Then all of a sudden, Will changed and got strong and started slapping folk. Right. But let me tell you what I call that. I've seen someone, I don't want to put their name on blast in the chat, talking about Chris Rock look weak. He looked weak, dot in doing the right thing, which is funny, right? I think one of the problems that we have, I think what you just described, I would describe as toxic
mhm,
femininity, right?
mhm,
When
mhm.
you encourage your man to do something, right? Or you get excited because he's acting in a way that's either violent or, with very little thought. And you're like, you're not going to defend my honor. Listen, you and I both know people that have ended up in very bad places. And I'm not saying it's the woman's fault. Let's not get on, oh, Dr. Green saying women. I'm saying I know personally men that have been encouraged by women and they didn't have to do it. Agency, they had a choice, right? But have been encouraged by women. You got to go defend my honor, and they not here anymore. Or you better go do this. You got to go fight him. Got men jumping out of windows trying to prove, their masculinity, which is pathetic. But again, like you said, there are two sides to this equation. You got, men that are trying to act out what they deem is what they should do based upon the role that they've accepted in life, right? And by the same token, you got women that will have men in jail, prison, or in cemeteries talking about you better do this or else you ain't a man. I think that's toxic femininity.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, all of us are responsible for our own behavior. And when I
True.
mentioned earlier about how the war that's going on inside of you,
Hmm.
if you're peace inside, if you're comfortable with yourself and you don't have that deep level of insecurity and you know who you are and you have a strong sense of self,
Hmm.
first of all, you wouldn't even be dating a woman that's going to encourage you to fight because you're not even going to resonate with her because she's probably going to be just a fighting kind of person. So if you're attracting that type of energy to you, then you have to look at yourself and say, why am I attracting these type of people encouraging me to do these things? So I think that you really need to be responsible for your own behavior and for what you do and to know the consequences of what you do and who you date and who you choose to hang around with. And
Mm.
I don't know, wouldn't want to put, I mean, we can put the onus on a whole lot of people, but ultimately you're responsible for your own behavior.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I would encourage any guy listening, especially young guys, if you get with a woman who thinks that way, find a better woman. You know,
Well, if you get with a woman who thinks that way, start looking at yourself to say, okay, so why am I getting with this woman? What's
Right.
going on with me that I'm choosing these women who are just acting in this way? This is how do you see the rest of your life?
mm,
Dating women like this. Where do you think it's gonna go?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I don't know if y'all remember Lauren London. I remember back in the day, a lot of us thought Lauren London was like the prettiest thing ever. And then
Hmm.
she said the most ignorant shit about how she watched. Excuse me. Remember Medicine Society when Old Dog was the crazy one who was killing everybody, and she said that made her hot. Like that's the kind of man she wants, who's just crazy and gangster and will kill people. And I remember thinking that is not the kind of woman I would ever want to be around because people like that toxic. I like that term toxic femininity you used, Dr.
Hmm.
Green, because I don't think any decent person who cares about you is going to have you doing things that are going to put you in harm's way like that. And I really would be really curious to know um, what Will Smith is going through. Because
Yeah.
and it makes me sad because I think that he was one of the good ones. Like watching him kind of go down. Like now he's going to be kind of put in. I don't know. I think some people are going to try to put him in like a Kanye West kind of category, kind of write him off or whatever. And I don't think
Mm.
he deserves that. And
No,
and I
I
I, I
don't think
just
so. I'm sorry.
you don't think they will, or you don't think.
He
No, I
doesn't
see. I
deserve
think
it.
I think because he slapped. I think because he slapped um, Chris Rock, he's gonna get a pass. I think he'll recover. But if
Mm,
he had slapped a white actor or Jerry Seinfeld or something like that, it would be the end of
Ooh.
his career.
mm.
But since it was another black man, I think it's gonna blow over. Like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I mean, did you see the faces of the people in the audience?
It was
They didn't
pure
know what.
silence. They
Listen,
were like, what
they
is
were like,
this?
wait a
They
minute. We don't know. Wait, this is like it's almost like they were saying, "Oh, this is a black on black thing. We ain't got nothing to do with this. Let them sort that out."
it
Listen,
was confusing.
kind of
Let
like kind of
Denzel
like
talk
black
to
people
them.
watching Russia and Ukraine fight. We just
Like,
sit there like that's white people killing white people, so that ain't got
white
nothing to do
people
with
were
us.
like, white people
I
were like,
got no
listen,
dog in this
we
fight.
don't know what's going on here, but hopefully they'll sort it out before, so we can get to the rest of the awards.
And they sure did. They sure did. They just kept right on going, didn't they? They just went right
It
on up to
sure
the show
did.
went on. It was
Oh,
wow.
it was terrible.
Now
It was,
Lupita had the facial expression of the
oh yeah.
night. She was she
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 was
she,
like,
she
Oh,
represented every single black woman in America with her facial expression.
put her face up again. Yeah.
right there it is.
It was like,
Listen, her
what you
face
gonna do?
represents every black person's face in America, men and women. We were all looking like, what the heck are you doing?
Oh, that was
Gracious.
that was
You should
funny.
put a sign above her head saying Black America. This is how we were all looking. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my
Really?
God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody was just kind of, shocked. And I think that it was interesting to me in the way that Will made it clear that this was not just a PR stunt. This wasn't just staged. The
Yeah.
fact that he yelled it twice and was very articulate, like there was no ambiguity. He left no ambiguity that this was real. And so, which tells me for sure that this has been building up. That if you
Mm-hmm.
probably asked me, asked Will about Chris Rock 3 years ago, he probably would have had some, horrible things to say about him. And I think that,
Yeah.
that it just seemed like it was kind of we saw the finale of something that has been
They
going
had
on
been
for years.
continuing for. Yeah, he probably said before the show, he said, "Don't tell that joke about my wife. If you do, I'm gonna slap you." And Chris Rock got
Yeah.
up there and told the joke. It's like, all right.
You know, that's a good point. Yeah. So maybe it's like, I told you I was going to slap you. I told you backstage, you tested me, and now I passed the test.
Listen,
Yeah.
the reason why I don't think that happened was if that was the case, Chris Rock would have put his hands up or something because his hands was behind his back the whole time, like he didn't know what was coming. So
Ah,
if Will would have said, "If you do that, I'm gonna slap you," when he saw Will coming up, he'd have been like, "Wait a minute now, it's time to get it's time to get this
did
work
he
in."
now, Maurice, I have a question. Did
Uh-huh.
you actually see the slap? Like, it didn't look like I saw a connection. I feel like I need to
Oh,
analyze that
Yeah.
I
video.
saw a
Oh, I
connection.
saw no,
It
I
was a
saw it.
connection.
No,
Okay.
Chris Rock's face, like the way he walked up all cool and took the swing, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But then when I saw Chris Rock's reaction, I said, "Oh no, no, he really got hit." And then
Okay.
so I was like,
Hmm.
"That's not cool," And so and this is why I know it was real. Chris Rock, after the fact,
Was
stumbled.
stunned.
His
Yeah.
words was
Yeah.
messing up the cue
Yep.
cards. Like
Yeah.
he was saying, he's we gonna do a documentary. I mean, we doing an award for this.
Yep.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting that. Now, yeah, someone said he could have punched him. Either way, I no. Well, here's the thing: a slap sometimes is more disrespectful than a punch.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm,
So
mm.
Pimp slap somebody.
yes, you walk up and you
Yeah.
slap a man like what
That's
the,
noisy. That's
yeah,
really loud. That
yeah.
really says a
Remember,
lot.
remember, Mike Tyson used to say, "Everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth."
That's what he
Because Chris
said.
lost his whole plan.
He couldn't he couldn't make out the cue cards. He was he and so that's and then he said, okay, just go ahead and go on with play the move. I said, wow.
He
And so
just kept
again,
going.
yeah, and I'm gonna say this again. I think it's that Chris Rock was, obviously a professional. He went on.
Wow.
He didn't respond because everyone is saying that Will Smith was standing up for himself and blah 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 blah, right? He said, "Well, Chris Rock got a family. He got children. He could have said, you know what? I'm not gonna let you slap me on national TV. Now I got to go defend my family's honor." And unfortunately,
Mm.
that's the downward spiral that we get in the real world, where one person's feelings is hurt and the other one's feelings is hurt, and people end up in places where we can't see them no more. So again, I don't mean to be
Yeah.
redundant, but if we're looking at now, I mean, and we're all mature. I mean, most of the people I think, even online here in the group chat, are mature. Like hopefully we have better coping mechanisms, but we are living in a time where people are shooting people in rent. I mean, in Philly, in New York, in Detroit, in Chicago, where people are feeling hurt and then responding in violent ways. This doesn't help. And it's not to say that they're responsible for the violence that happens in our communities, but this right here surely doesn't help. And for anyone that says Will did the right thing, yeah, okay, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well,
Like
well, it is. I tell you what, when I saw the pimp slap, it made me. Anybody remember the pimp named Slick Back?
Oh, now you're wrong.
My
You're
name
Remember the
wrong,
pimp named
boy.
is
Slick
You're
Back?
wrong.
Cat Williams is hilarious.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. It definitely brought back memories, and I
I love all my
and I
hoes.
really just kind of I think that the ghost of Tupac might have been kind of
In
popping
the
up there. And well,
room.
I say that because
Crazy.
the people have always made that joke about Jada dating Tupac
Mhm.
back in the day, or being very close to Tupac.
Right.
And it's just kind of I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm speculating here, but if you have this impression that your wife was hanging out with this guy named Tupac, and you're trying to compete with that on some
Oh,
level, I don't know. I just kind of think that that's just not
No.
healthy for. It's hard for a guy like a
Yeah.
Will Smith to even try to compete with the memory of Tupac Shakur. You first of all, you're
Yeah.
talking about
Okay.
a guy who's dead. You can never compete with a dead person. And then second of all, you're talking about a guy who really took, violence and disrespect to the ultimate level, to the point where it cost him his life, right?
hmm
And because remember, if you remember that song "Hit 'Em Up," which I actually listened to that song about a day ago, and it starts off with, "You call yourself a player, but I blanked your wife," right? And so it's all about kind of, I disrespected you, I disrespected your wife. What are you going to do about it? And I'm just wondering, how Will might feel about that. Not to say that he was thinking about any of that when he ran up on stage and all that stuff. I'm not saying that, but I can't help but wonder if that just pisses him off. You know,
Mm.
like, and the thing is, you don't want to try to compare yourself to a Tupac-ish kind of person who would go to any limit to make sure his honor is preserved, because you saw what that got him. Tupac died at the age of 25 years old, right?
Mm.
And I don't know, and I think that puts a lot of black men in a dilemma, right? When you'll hear some women say things like, "I want to date a man who's a corporate thug." Like he's
Mm.
got his education, he got a good job, but he can get street with you. He can get street with you.
I've heard
Well,
that. Wait, wait. I've heard that.
you've heard it, yeah, yeah. And I think that's kind of a
That's all I'm gonna say.
tough thing to expect, because this guy's trying to keep his job. He's trying to stay out of jail. He's trying to stay out of the morgue. But you asking him to live, to do things that guys do when they go to jail, when they get fired from their job, when they end up in the morgue. And I just say the two shouldn't. You just got to pick your lane.
Right.
My father was a gangster to some extent. My father, Vietnam veteran, he's killed people.
hmm
My father has, done a little bit of everything. And one thing my
Right.
father used to tell me, because he understood the consequences of violence, is he said a man who has something to lose should not be trying to mix it up with men who have nothing to lose.
Right. Now that's
You know,
you should put that
what
up
what, what are
there.
your thoughts on that?
You should put that up there. That should be the quote of the night. Right. You can't mix the two. You have to choose a lane. Right. And I think that that's really important. That people understand that if you have something to live for, right? Once you have some kind of grounding in your life, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever, and you have a future ahead of you, you're not ready to throw that away, right? On some what could be considered nonsense. So I think that's really important. It's about valuing your life, valuing yourself, your future, and again, that's about having a healthy, uh, just being healthy in terms of your mental health. But I wanted to share something real quickly that someone put in the chat, and I wanted to read this. It's a quote. The LAPD investigative entities are aware of an incident between two individuals during the Academy Awards program. The incident involved the incident involved one individual slapping another, right? The individual involved the individual involved has declined to file a
Hmm.
police report. So, since we know who the individuals are, uh, Chris Rock's not going to have Will Smith locked up, which says he's the bigger man or whatever the case may be. But I'm gonna be honest. See, I'm petty. If no, no, listen to me. Listen, a lot of people that started following me on Instagram at Dr. Green Speaks, y'all gonna have to unfollow me after I say this, because if Will would have slapped me on stage, right, and I didn't do anything, say I didn't go at him and mix it up, I'd have walked off the stage like a champ. And as soon as he got his acceptance award, the peoples would have been there arresting him right in the middle of his speech. Because I would have
Yep.
called the peoples, the man, the police, the long arm of the law. If you're going to embarrass me like that, you're going to say, I want to thank the Oscars. And they be like, Mr. Smith, you got to come with us right on
Yep.
TV. We since
Yep.
we all getting petty and wild and crazy, he'd have been getting he wouldn't have got his speech out, and they'd have said, "Oh, Dr. Green, he a snitch. He ain't a thug." Listen to me.
Mm.
I would have gotten so much joy out of watching them lock him up or take him off in the middle of his speech. I'd have been like, "Hey, man, it's all
Yeah.
all fans, all fan loving war. You're not gonna sit there and get your teary eyed moment and get all America weeping with you after you done slapped my teeth out. No, 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 son. You got to go to the people. You're gonna do that speech from inside Rikers. You know, behind them bars.
Man, I think it's a good point. So really, Will Smith shouldn't be apologizing to Chris Rock. He needs to be thanking Chris Rock. You know, because when you are a man, of that type of caliber, and you do something that stupid, let's just call it stupid. I think it was stupid. You open yourself up to all kinds of problems and
Yeah.
liability and everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole world saw it. You made sure that it was 100% crystal clear what you were doing and why, and you did it in front of everybody. I just think that was this unstrategic, very
Mhm.
unstrategic by Will, and I don't know who he was trying to impress. I think there are a million ways that you can show that you can preserve or your wife's dignity or whatever he was trying to do, without doing it like that. I'm gonna go with those of you who say that Will was wrong to do this. I don't think it was cool. I'm gonna let y'all get the last word. So ladies first, Dr. Alicia, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Will Smith is going through something, and I hope that he is able to, whatever he's experiencing, I hope that he is able to express it. I know that he is very much committed to Jada and committed to his family, and all of those things are great. I do think that all of this will be put behind him. He is a wonderful actor who deserved that Oscar. And it's too bad that this slap is kind of tarnishing a little bit of his night. But we will see what happens tomorrow if he's going to apologize or thank Chris Rock. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some statement from his team.
Yeah, yeah, a
Mhm.
statement from his team. Okay. So Dr. Green, what's your parting thought, brother?
I think it's extremely unfortunate. I think that all parties concerned have a lot that they've lost tonight. I hope that people watching, people with less resources and in some instances less sense, don't take this as the way you handle feeling offended. I think that we need to make sure that we understand that what happened here, you can't get away with in the street, right? You can't just walk up and slap people because you upset. And I think we should all just really take a step back and try to love more, try to be more considerate, more understanding, and understand that people are going through things. But understand that while you're going through something, that doesn't give you the right to hurt other people. They say hurt people, but that's a pattern of behavior that leaves everybody hurt. So I think we should all just
Mm.
love and care about one another and just move in better ways.
Wow, well, I love that. Thank you for those wise words, Dr. Green. And everybody listening, I want you to know you were listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, and our special guest tonight, Dr. Maurice Green. He is the head of the Black Doctoral Network. If you haven't heard about him, everybody should. You should follow him at Dr. Green Speaks. You saw that on the screen. Also, Alicia's website is coachwithdralicia.com. So if you want to take a look at what she does in terms of couples counseling, things like that, feel free to go visit coachingwithdralicia.com or follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And you can also subscribe at voiceandaliciatv.com. There's the URL on the screen. And hit that thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please do that. We need to support intelligent Black media. We're trying to take over so we can make sure the message of intelligent Black people is out to the world. So the last point I'll make on this is that I hope that everybody can heal. I hope everybody can heal and everybody can learn. I think that there are better uses for the extraordinary talent of Will Smith than this. I think that there are a million ways Will could have handled this in a more strategic way. I get how he feels. I understand how he felt. I don't think it takes away from his talent, doesn't take away from his accomplishments. And I've met the Smith family, and they are extraordinarily intelligent people, and I have so much respect for them. And if I were to sit Will down and just kind of give him my 2 cents on it, I say, come on, man. Remember who the hell you are. Just remember who the hell you are. You are not a pimp named Slickback. That is not. You ain't got to be thugging it out, man. You're a king. Your last film was King Richard. You won an Oscar for that because you're representing Black men in an extraordinary way. And I think you could be much more effective by handling things in a way that is fit for a king. You're better than that, and I believe that you're gonna come back from that and do great things. And God bless you, man. So, and same thing, Chris Rock. I hope I hope you can put some ice on that jaw because that looked like it hurt. And
Come on.
but I'm sure Chris was ready. I imagine Chris was ready though, because I'm sure he's got slapped many a times for those jokes because he's funny though. He's very funny, very smart. But come on, man.
Oh,
There's a lot of things you can make fun of other than Jada Pickett's alopecia. Like that's not cool. And you probably wouldn't be saying that if she was a white woman. And so you were wrong for that. But you didn't deserve to get slapped. So good luck. All right. So everybody have a good night. Thank you all for
Nice.
listening. God bless you. And thanks a lot for joining us, Dr. Green. It was real, my brother. And
Thank
of
you.
course, Alicia, I love you, baby. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Bye bye.
Take care.